This video is brought to you by ncix.com. Great technology, selection, and service.
Hey everyone, Aiden here with Hardware Canucks, and today we're taking a look at Cougar's new 450 series, the 450K hybrid mechanical keyboard, and the 450M gaming mouse, priced at $59.99 and $49.99 USD respectively. We'll start by looking at the 450K keyboard, and then later take a look at the 450M. Starting off with the physical overview, the 450K has a solid plastic build, coming in at 1 kg or 2.2 pounds. It's not particularly heavy for its size, but it feels extremely well built. There's no flex anywhere in the build, and the entire keyboard feels quite tough. It features a smooth plastic on the top and bottom of the keyboard, with a brushed plastic finish in the center. I personally love this design choice. Brushed plastic allows for a more premium finish without the fingerprint attraction that plagues brushed aluminium. Also here are the hybrid mechanical switches with 3-color backlighting with an ISO keyboard layout. On the bottom of the keyboard you have a red finish with 5 rubber grips as well as 2 flip out feet. Finishing the physical overview is the 1.8 meter cable, which is not braided despite Cougar's released specs. One of the features Cougar is pushing in terms of durability of this keyboard is the splash resistant design, which they claim is due to the hybrid mechanical switches that are completely sealed. This means no liquids can reach the internals, which I would consider a fantastic feature. I poured a large amount of water on the keyboard when it was powered on to test this, and it held up perfectly, which is a testament to the focus on durability which has been placed on this board. Overall, the design of the 450K seems very well thought out, with a premium build which is not characteristic of this price range. The pricing seems very competitive, as most affordable Cherry MX boards like the Quickfire TK start at the $70 to $80 range. This brings us to the switches on the board. It features Cougar's hybrid mechanical switches. Cougar's concept of these switches is to provide a mechanical feel without the mechanical design. Cougar does this by having a fixed mechanism underneath each keycap which actuates the membrane, as opposed to the conventional rubber dome method of having the keycap actuating the membrane directly. And as such, this allows for longer travel distances. These don't feel like Cherry MX switches to me, but simultaneously they aren't like membrane switches either. While Cougar doesn't state the actuation force, I feel these are in the middle of Cherry MX Blacks and MX Reds. They feel heavy while still being relatively easy to press down. While they don't keep the clicky feeling of the blues which I so love, I have found myself really enjoying them. They're satisfying and consistent, unlike many membrane keyboards. Logan from Tech Syndicate compared these to Topra switches, and while I haven't tried Topra switches personally, the comparison makes sense, as the switch design of this board reminds me of the Nova Touch. These switches are also fairly loud, unlike membrane switches, so here's a sound sample. One of the disadvantages of this non-standard switch is the lack of third-party keycap customization. The caps on this board are quite good, but the option for the customization that's available on MX boards is sorely lacking from this. The contained switch does allow for that water resistance though, and it also allows for the backlighting to be embedded in the switch, which supposedly allows for more even backlighting. This brings us into the features, and the board packs some simple, useful ones. The backlighting has 3 colors, red, green and blue, with 3 levels of brightness, as well as a breathing mode which transitions smoothly. However, that's where the backlight customization ends, with no custom modes or other effects present. The backlight brightness is also lackluster, with even the brightest level being fairly dim in good light. This means that the backlighting can seem uneven as it's quite dim, leaving certain areas not adequately lit. Jumping into the software, we have a fair bit of customization for the keyboard. You have the ability to rebind every key on the keyboard, except for the function button, and you can also assign macros to keys. This is awesome, and it's great to see this level of customization on a keyboard. I wish that you could reassign the function key however, as I personally like to have the Windows key in that location, and would love if you could swap the right Windows key to function. However, that just doesn't seem to be possible. The board also has support for 3 onboard profiles, which change the macros, and also can have individual lighting profiles so that you can tell which profile is activated. These profiles can be changed with the 3 dedicated keys on the keyboard, and there's also media controls as well as a polling rate control up to 1000 Hz accessible on the board. So that about wraps up the 450K. It has a great design, enjoyable typing, and good customization at an attractive price point. Moving on to its sibling, the 450M, I found it didn't impress me quite as much as the 450K did. To recap, the 450M is priced at $49.99, which puts it in line with mice like the Logitech G402 and the Razer Death Adder, so the competition is fierce in this price bracket. The 450M touts an ambidextrous design with 2 buttons on each side of the mouse, and it weighs in at 105 grams, which is fairly light for a larger mouse like this. It also features RGB lighting, on-RON switches, a 5000 dpi optical sensor, 1000Hz polling, and a 32-bit ARM processor with onboard memory. In terms of raw specs, the mouse delivers, with no obvious features missing. I personally prefer more buttons like on my G602, however, for a gaming-oriented mouse this decision is understandable. Sensor performance has been very good so far. It uses a PixelArt 3310DH sensor with no acceleration issues and no polling issues. I jumped into CSGO and found no abnormal behaviour with the sensor. It seems to be very accurate, and overall the experience was pretty enjoyable. My issue with this mouse is not the sensor, but with the mouse design. The killer for me is the material they chose for this mouse, with the top material being a black glossy plastic. I honestly can't see any reason for this choice, as not only does it look tacky in my opinion, but it also picks up fingerprints, it's more slippery, and is generally just a terrible surface for a mouse. I'll give them props for the execution of the surface however, as when I saw that it was glossy plastic I did expect much worse, but it's been more resistant to fingerprints and more grippy than I expected. But no matter how well this was executed, I don't think this material choice is a good one. The sides have a textured rubber finish which works well, even if it isn't my favourite feeling texture. The 2 side buttons are very small and are a bit too thin for my preference. Generally, the mouse is fairly good for the palm grip I use with ambidextrous mice, but it isn't one of the most comfortable mice I've used. The mouse has a large DPI switcher which is individually lit, and while it's a tiny bit far back for my preference, it has a very satisfying click and it's easy to press. The scroll wheel has very defined steps, but I do find the resistance is a little strong for my liking, and pressing the scroll wheel takes more force than it should. Customization is something the Cougar 450M does well. In the software we can switch from our keyboard to the mouse, and we see not only 3 modes like in our keyboard, but we also have individual profiles. You can adjust a range of settings with individual access DPI control, which is awesome. There's also scroll speed, lift height, polling rate, acceleration and snapping in here, which is all great stuff. You can have profiles activated by game as well if that's your thing. Moving to key assignment, you combine macros or keys to every button, which is great to see. Under lighting we have the full RGB lighting suite, which was lacking on the keyboard. The controls are great, with the RGB codes available for input as well as the slider. The colours on the mouse match very closely to the software, so that's refreshing to see. You also have the option between breathing and fully lit. I would have liked to see brightness levels, but the breathing mode is very good, like on the 450K. While the lighting effects are simple, they're very well executed and work well. However, they're let down by the ridiculous choice of having green on the mouse. The main point of having RGB lighting is colour matching with other peripherals, so having such a vibrant green on a product with RGB lighting makes little to no sense to me, as most lighting themes will clash with it. This really is a strange choice to me, and it renders most of the colours on the mouse useless, whereas they would have looked great with the otherwise plain black mouse. So in the end, the 450M isn't terrible, it just has a lot of questionable design choices. If it was competing in the $30 price range, it would have had a chance, but at this price there are just too many poor design choices for this mouse to compete with other mice in this price range. The lightweight design and average build quality are starkly different to the 450K, and they don't seem like they're from the same product line at all, ranging from the accent colour on the red underbelly of the 450K to the green on the 450M, and the seemingly just different design philosophy of the products. In conclusion, the 450K hybrid mechanical keyboard offers great value with an enjoyable typing experience, excellent build quality and design, solid features and a solid price point, and as such we're giving it a damn good value award. However, the 450M contrasts, as it seems uncompetitive in the current market. While it brings some good customization and hardware, the design lets it down, resulting in an ultimately lackluster final product. Thanks for watching everyone, feel free to let us know what you think about this lineup in the comments, and also let me know what you think of this review, and give me any feedback down below. I'm Aiden with Hardware Canucks. If you enjoyed the review, hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe for more similar content, and we'll see you in the next one.